Well, Jim, going back to this article here, let me finish things off. Mr. McMahon retired as WWE Chief Executive and Chairman in July amid a board investigation of sexual misconduct claims against him. The Journal reported that he had agreed to pay more than $12 million in secret settlements since 2006 to his accusers. The Securities and Exchange Commission and federal prosecutors launched inquiries into the payments. WWE later disclosed additional payments in 2007 and 2009, totaling $5 million, that it said were unrelated to the allegations of misconduct that led to its internal investigation. WWE's board ultimately found that the payments, though made by Mr. McMahon personally, should have been booked as WWE expenses because they benefited the company. Mr. McMahon had told people that he intended to make a comeback at WWE, the Journal reported last month. He said that he received bad advice from people close to him last year to step down, according to the people familiar with his comments.
Who's close to Vince? Stephanie, Triple H, Nick Khan?
Well, we'll talk about the board right now because they updated this article as of today, as of Friday, because it all happened. Mr. McMahon, who has majority voting power, put him and Barrios and Wilson on the board. WWE said in a news release Friday that Mr. McMahon had removed Joe Ellen Lyons Dillon,
Whoa.
Jeffrey R. Speed,
There they go again,
and Alan M. Wexler from the board. In addition, Ignace Lahoud and Manjit Singh had resigned as board members effective Friday, the company said. So it's not just McMahon and his two chosen people taking 3 seats on the board. 2 other people said, fuck this, and quit.
Yeah, and again, but then the problem becomes, we were talking about, oh, isn't it convenient? Are they going to say no to Vince? Maybe they were the ones saying no to Vince all along. And now what's going to happen if we've got a 6-person tag with Nick Khan, Stephanie, and Triple H on one side, and Vince and George and Michelle on the other side, and the 3 miscellaneous civilians in the middle going, what the fuck is going on here? You know, we should have gotten into oil or fucking the automotive industry or whatever.
Watch Nick Khan quit.
Well, here's the thing.
If he realizes he can't win, watch him go back and do something else.
I don't know if it's funny, but it certainly may fit the definition of ironic that Vince McMahon forced himself back into office on January 6th.
I did not even realize.
Think about this now. It's perfect. It's perfect. He probably got the idea from Donald. But again, well, let's look at hold on here. I've got a statistic on the voting power in the WWE. And this is by young Brandon Thurston. I've never met this young man, but he seems to this seems to be his wheelhouse. He's got a grip on these figures and business things. Apparently, what they did when they went public with the stock and et cetera, 20 years ago now, they've got 2 classes of stock shares. And this is common, they say, for many publicly traded companies. But the McMahon family owned Class B stock, which the Class B shares each have 10 times the voting power over Class A common stock, right? And the only people who got Class B shares were McMahon family members. Linda has some, Stephanie's got some, Shane had some, but he sold all of his when he left the company years ago. And only Vince or Linda or their descendants can actually own Class B stock. If they sell some of their Class B stock, it's converted to Class A stock because nobody else can hold that kind of stock. Even poor Triple H can only own Class A shares, right?
He gets Class H.
But they should make a special classification. All right. Well, it's breaking news, folks. We're not polished. We're out here in the trenches on the battlefield. We got the shells whistling over our heads. So here are the stockholders in the WWE with voting power. Beginning with small and going up to big. apparently there's an investment group called Vanguard that has a 1.2% of the voting power in the WWE. They are headquartered in Pennsylvania, hold 5.4% of the shares, about 1% of the voting power. They hold shares in thousands of companies. Their assets were worth more than $6 trillion in 2020. Next is, hold on here, with 1.7%, BlackRock Incorporated. Didn't they do some dirty shit over in Iran or Iraq or Afghanistan or something? BlackRock, weren't they in trouble at one time?
I don't know if it's the same BlackRock, but that was BlackRock, yes.
BlackRock Incorporated. Well, it's going to be a bad day at BlackRock when they find out that they've got 8% of WWE stock, but less than 2% of the voting rights.
That was the name of the old CBS headquarters in New York on 6th Avenue, BlackRock.
Well, they've now diversified. Linda McMahon.
Hello.
Oh, she owns 1.6%, 0.1% less than BlackRock, but she's they're Class B shares. So even though she owns less than 1% of the total stock, her voting power is 1.6. Stephanie McMahon, WWE's chief brandy officer. No, now she's co-chairwoman now. Also a member of the board of directors. She holds about 2.5% of all shares and 5% of voting power, but this doesn't include the shares held by her husband, Triple H. His shares are just a fraction of Stephanie's, just a morsel, a minute portion, a little drava there. And next, and listen to this now, Linzell Train Limited, the largest institutional owner of WWE shares. They own about 15% of the shares, but less than 4% of the voting power. The UK-based firm is majority owned by founders Nick Train and Michael Linzell. So Linzell Train, I thought that was like, the fucking, oh, God damn it. Now I've gone blank on the manufacturer of all those great old toy trains. A Lionel train.
Lionel.
And then finally, now the other...
And finally, Duncan Yo-Yo has 3%.
Well, no, the Duncan Yo-Yo. I actually went over here to Five and Dime store when I was a kid to see the Yo-Yo champion come over and walk the dog and do shit like that.
Oh, no way. That's awesome.
He was pretty cool. And he had the glow-in-the-dark yo-yo and everything. But anyway, now there are other people, obviously, that own shares of stock, financial institutions, personal people, each with less than 1% of voting power or units or whatever. That's about 6%. And Vince McMahon has 38% of the shares of stock and 81% of the voting power. All by him. They can't pull an Ole and a Barnett on Uncle Vince. He can't be, everybody else could get together and try to say, fuck you. And Vince has 4/5 of the voting power by himself. So that's that split up there for you, pal.